It's almost a new year, and that means that everyone is trying to figure out how to wrap things up, plan things out, and make the next year their best yet. But as we all know, that can feel completely overwhelming, especially if you're a multi-passionate person like me. When you have so many interests and passions, it's hard to know where to start. You might feel like you're failing if you don't focus enough on one thing, or if you don't achieve enough, you'll end the year feeling unsatisfied. We've all been there. So instead, let's make this year about discovering yourself. Let's focus on making time for the things that you truly love, finding new passions, and most importantly, let's do it for you, not for anyone else. Hello, my name is Genie, and I consider myself a multi-passionate person, a scanner, multipotentialite, a dilettante, whatever you want to call it. These words basically just describe a person with a wide range of interests, skills, and talents who struggle finishing projects, juggling all that they want to do, and resist committing to a single pursuit at one time. There are a lot more multi-passionate people out there than we think, but unfortunately our society is focused on specialization, which has really made it difficult for us multi-passionate people to find our place. So now is the time to focus on figuring out more about yourself. Let's find out what kind of lifestyle makes you happy. Let's find out what exactly is triggering all those passions that you have. And most importantly, let's make time for the things that we love. And since I love gamifying things, I'm going to present my advice as levels. Think of yourself as a playable character in a role-playing game. And in this video, you're going to go through 5 different levels that will help you unlock the open world phase of your life. It will be a time where you can fully explore, create, and grow at your own pace. But first up, just like every playable character, we need a quest log. Now, most people like having planners or diaries for their lives. Some people use bullet journals. Commonplace notebooks are also a popular option. And if you're like me, you probably have about 5 to 6 journals that you're using at one time. That's just the kind of chaos that I thrive in. So you can go on using whatever you prefer, but what I'm going to suggest today is the Scanner Daybook. The Scanner Daybook is from the book Refuse to Choose by Barbara Sher, which is a handbook for the multi-passionate personality type. The daybook is a journal with blank pages, empty white pages for you to fill up with your ideas, your passions, things that spark interest in you, what have you. So it is a bit like a commonplace notebook, a bullet journal, a diary, but it's for messy multi-passionates. This is meant to be a space to dump things from your brain so you can give attention to them. No one else has to see it, so don't make it organized, don't make it pretty. It just needs to be about you. And if you decide to start one, you can fill up some of the first few pages with the exercises I'll recommend in this video. All right, let's get started. So first, we need to talk about a very toxic relationship that many of us have, and that is our relationship with the internet, and more specifically, social media. The problem with the internet right now is that algorithms are specifically designed to tell you who you are. They're showing you things that they know you'll click on, things that will keep you watching, liking, and engaging for hours. And these algorithms probably know you better than you know yourself. The apps and the websites that you're using are harvesting your information. They're making money off of your time and your attention. And I know that we've been constantly hearing about how terrible the internet is. But let me just read you something by Gia Tolentino in her book Trick Mirror, who really put it so well. The internet reminds us on a daily basis that it is not at all rewarding to become aware of problems that you have no reasonable hope of solving. And more important, the internet already is what it is. It has already become the central organ of contemporary life. It has already rewired the brains of its users, returning us to a state of primitive hyper-awareness and distraction while overloading us with much more sensory input than was ever possible in primitive times. It has already built an ecosystem that runs on exploiting attention and monetizing the self. And that's a problem. When you're constantly being fed these ideas about who you should be, what you should want, and what you should focus on, it leaves very little room for you to figure those things out for yourself. It's time to take that control back. Now, I know that if you're watching this video, you're on the internet, and the algorithm has fed you this video out of some knowledge from your previous interests. We all use the internet, and it's made our lives a lot better in so many different ways. We just need to set some boundaries. The internet should be a tool that can really help you, but it should not be capturing the majority of your attention. It should not be the main source of where you spend all of your free time. So you don't have to throw your phone out. You don't have to switch it out for a dumb phone. You don't have to delete all your accounts unless you want to, but just give it some limits. I think that the best way to do this is to move your most addictive apps, your social media apps, to a second device, like your iPad or maybe an old phone. That way you can set up designated times for whenever you can check these things, and it's not readily available in your pocket or your purse. If that's a bit too extreme for you, maybe just delete the apps from your home screen. Turn off all of their notifications. And that way, checking these apps or checking your feed becomes a more deliberate action and not a reflex every time you feel bored or stressed. And let's talk about your mornings. The first thing that you do in the morning is so important. If you grab your phone the moment that you wake up, your brain is going to crave that hit of dopamine all day long. You're going to spend your breaks at work mindlessly scrolling, only to feel that you wasted that time. And when you get home and you're feeling tired from a hard day, you'll go straight to TikTok or Instagram. Your brain will start to associate your phone with rest. And every time you feel tired or stressed, guess what? You'll crave your phone. So it's time to change that. Start your day with something calming or mindful instead. It doesn't have to be complicated. Stretch, make a nice ritual out of making your coffee, eat a nice, good, healthy breakfast, read a chapter in a book, or write down some thoughts in a journal. By replacing that instant urge to scroll with something a little more meaningful, you're rewiring your brain to crave something better. And the same goes for your other free moments too, like your commute, your work breaks, the time before bed. Think about these moments. When are you the most likely to reach for your phone? So here's what I want you to do first in your scanner data. Take note of these times, your mornings, your commute times, your work break, your evenings. Ask yourself, when do I have free time? And what could I fill it with that actually adds to my life? Because your time is precious and it's worth filling it with things that you truly enjoy. Now, if you're wondering, what exactly do I love? That's where level 2 comes into play. Level 2 is all about making lists. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I love making lists. I probably do this list making exercise like 2 or 3 times every year. I call it decluttering the mind, managing the chaos, sifting through the hoarder's nest that is my brain, and putting it all into a visual format that's much easier to process. So this is where we're going to get a little bit reflective and creative and intentional about who you are and what makes you tick. So grab your scanner daybook and let's do a little reflection. It's always fun to start out a new video game with a fresh list of uncompleted quests that you can tackle. But just because it's a new year or just a new period in your life, it doesn't mean that you're starting from scratch. What I want you to do is make a completed quest log. What have you accomplished, big or small, that sparks some pride or satisfaction? Now, of course, if you're proud of things like your degree or getting a license or some kind of certification, write that down. But think further back and think small. Maybe in middle school you were into writing fanfics and you wrote one you were particularly proud of. Or maybe you made a painting and it's still hanging up in your mom's house. Maybe you once organized a surprise party for a friend that went really well. Maybe you had a huge book that you'd been wanting to read for the longest time and you finally finished it. Let's take a look at mine. Mine are pretty embarrassing. I wrote down just finishing the Witcher series. One time as a kid, I made a comic book for one of my friends for their birthday. One year, I took the challenge to read only new books. I'm a chronic rereader, so it was a big milestone for me to spend an entire year just reading new books. Moving to Korea was a big one. Sticking with an exercise routine and Pilates for 2 years. So yeah, don't overthink it. Just take the time and reflect back on those little wins, those small accomplishments that you have achieved. These are moments that lit a little spark inside of you. They make up who you are and what has shaped your personality over time. And the point of this exercise is just to remind yourself of what you're capable of, what you've done that brought you joy or fulfillment. When we're overwhelmed by everything that we haven't done, it's easy to forget how much we've already achieved. And also because we do spend so much time on social media, sometimes we think our ideas of success or accomplishment are much different than our actual feeling or our own personal definition of it. So this is your sense to give yourself a little bit more perspective and to celebrate all that you have achieved. Okay, but now we're going to make master lists. This is where your multi-passionate personality is really going to shine. These master lists are going to guide you as you choose how to spend your free time. The 3 lists you're going to make are projects, interests, And hobbies. Your project list is for pursuits with a clear goal or endpoint. Maybe you're trying to write a book, or make a short film, or organize an event for your school or community. For projects, you have a good idea of what you want to achieve from them and where they should end up. Your interest list is for things that you're exploring or trying to learn more about. Maybe you want to learn more about a certain subject like color theory, philosophy, history, or you're trying to learn a new language, or you've just been interested in learning more about a certain topic out of pure curiosity. These things, you might not be sure exactly what you want out of them, but you feel interested in them and you're willing to dedicate time to explore them. And the last one is your hobby list. That's for the activities that you do to unwind, to relax, to release creative energy. It might be something like painting, crocheting, gaming. It could also be sports that you play, or even just reading novels. Of course, hobbies can have their own goals, but they're usually a little bit more flexible and done for more pure enjoyment. Write down as many things as you can think of, even if you haven't started them yet. Don't worry about order or priority. Just let it all spill out into the list. And so the point is that now, when you have free time, instead of immediately running to your phone to scroll or getting sucked into other distractions, you can pull out these lists and pick something. That dopamine that you're chasing when you're scrolling endlessly, you can find it here on these lists. Except this time it's tied to something meaningful and it's fully guided by you, what you like, and what you're passionate about. Level 3 is all about picking a focus. Now, I know, as a multi-passionate person, the last thing that you want to hear is focus on one thing. You don't have to. But instead of trying to juggle everything at once, what I like to do is each week I pick one project, 2 or 3 interests, and 3 to 4 hobbies to focus on. This gives you a bit of structure without boxing you in. You're free to explore without the overwhelming pressure of having to do it all. And I've mentioned this in my previous advice videos for multipassionates. But one thing I like to remind people is that if you are pursuing something and it stops giving you what you want from it, if it starts to feel boring or monotonous, or just like the passion has all dried up, it's totally okay to set it aside. Put it back on your master list and try something else. If something else is calling to you, go for it. The best time to dive into a new passion is when you feel that excitement and curiosity. It's what keeps you motivated and engaged. But let's talk about getting started on some of those things. It's true that a multi-passionate person wants to do everything all at once, but at the same time, we also struggle with just picking something to get started on. That's probably because even though you've narrowed down your focus for the week to just a few pursuits, you just don't know where to start with them. So that's where a little trick called backwards planning comes into play. This basically means deciding where you want to end up with a particular pursuit and working backwards to figure out the steps to get there. It helps to make your goals feel more achievable and actionable, and hopefully less overwhelming. Let's break it down into categories and I'll explain what I mean for each project, an interest, and a hobby. So because projects usually have more clear and defined goals, this one might be the easiest. For me, I have this YouTube channel, so making a video is usually one of my projects. So I have an idea for the video I want to make. I think about the steps that I need to take to complete that video. So researching the topic, writing a script, filming, editing, thumbnail, description. I might even break each one down into smaller steps too. For your interests, the goals might be more about learning or growth. So let's say you're learning a language. Think of a goal like have a 30-minute casual conversation with a native speaker. To get there, you'll need to practice listening, speaking, grammar, and vocabulary. Okay, well, how can you practice each of those? For listening, you could pick out a podcast and listen to it while you walk your dog, or you could watch a series in the target language without the subtitles. For speaking, you can get a textbook that has a CD and listen and repeat to the different dialogues. You could also plan some mini sessions with an online tutor. Now, if you're going for grammar or vocabulary, think of the specific topic that you could talk about. Make a vocabulary list out of the different words that you could use, and then research the different grammar patterns that would be helpful. Breaking it down into the smallest tasks possible makes it easy so that even if you have a 10-minute break at work, you can pull out your vocabulary list and start studying. Now, hobbies can be a lot more flexible, but I think that breaking them down into smaller tasks still makes it easier for you to get started on them. So one of my hobbies is crochet, and right now I'm trying to make a sweater. I know that I need to make a front panel, a back panel, I need to sew those together, I need to make a collar, and then I need to make sleeves, and then sew it all together at the end. And this way, whenever I do have free time, Especially in the evening, that's when I like to crochet. I can just think, okay, work on the back panel. Breaking down each of your pursuits into micro tasks makes them feel way less overwhelming and way more manageable. And like I said, I personally like to keep my tasks as small as possible, even if I have just a few minutes of free time. I know exactly how I can use it. Now, let's look at how to fit these tasks into your daily routine. Take a look back at the free time that you identified earlier, your mornings, your commutes, your break times, your evenings, time before bed. You can slot these tasks into your day based on your energy levels, your level of productivity, or just whatever feels natural. In the morning, I feel more productive, so I usually put my task-heavy projects into this time. During my commute, I read a book or listen to an audiobook. When I have a break at work, I actually bring my little sketchbook and I just kind of doodle and practice drawing. And then when I come home and need to unwind, that's when I do my more creative hobbies like painting or crocheting, because they help give me some relaxation. The beauty of this approach is that it's flexible. By having a clear goal and breaking it into smaller, actionable steps, you'll find it much easier to make progress without feeling overwhelmed. But just remember, this isn't about setting yourself arbitrary goals. It's about exploring what excites you, spending your free time doing things that you love, and taking small, consistent steps to create something meaningful just for you. Alright, so as important as level 3 is, doing your backwards planning, making the micro tasks, it's not going to work for every single pursuit. And that is totally fine. One of the most important things, especially when it comes to exploring new ideas, new passions, new hobbies, new interests, new projects, whatever it is, the most important step is getting started. Sometimes the second you get an idea, your brain runs wild. For me, as soon as inspiration hits, I'm tempted to run straight to Google, Reddit, YouTube, and before I know it, I'm completely overwhelmed with information overload, and I feel like, how can I do this? The creator of the cartoon Courage the Cowardly Dog, John Dilworth, whenever he's asked how he came to make such a strange but amazing and memorable cartoon, he always answers with a pencil. It started with a pencil. So you don't need fancy equipment or hours of research to get started on something as a multi-passionate person. You don't need to know everything before you get started. You don't have to be an expert just to take part in something. You just need that first tiny step. Sometimes the best way to learn and grow is just to try it out for yourself. And I know that's the hardest part, but once you do it, everything else gets a little easier. You'll learn as you go. And trust me, it's way more fun and way less stressful that way. Okay, so now to help yourself get started, I recommend just setting up your spaces. Think of this as laying out your tools before the work begins. If you want to read, have your book picked out and bookmarked. If you're planning to paint, set up your easel and your brushes ahead of time. If writing's your thing, leave your laptop open to a blank Word document. The idea is to remove all of the little obstacles that might slow you down in your process of getting started. Because when everything's ready and waiting for you, it's so much easier to just sit down and start. Finally, we reach level 5, the most important level on your multi-passionate journey. Once you make this one a habit, it will unlock your life and set you up in the open world stage of exploration, discovery, and passion. Make time to discover new things about yourself. Don't let the algorithm do it for you all the time. And I'm not here to judge if it does it for you sometimes. It does it for me too. Totally fine. But just don't let it do it for you all the time. Try to find your own ways to get inspired. Because at the heart of everything that we've talked about, setting boundaries with social media, making lists, setting up your space, getting started, it all comes back to understanding who you are and what lights you up. If you're looking for a structured way to do this, I highly recommend the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a 12-week guided course designed to help you reconnect with your creativity, and it's packed with activities that will not only spark inspiration, but also help you reflect and grow. Two of the most important practices introduced in the book are morning pages and the artist date. Let's talk about how these practices can help you discover more about yourself. Morning pages are a simple yet powerful tool. Here's how it works. Every morning, grab a notebook and fill up 3 to 4 pages with pure brain dump. Write down everything that's in your head. Your thoughts, your worries, random ideas. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be neat. Think of it as clearing the mental clutter. You're getting all of the noise out of your brain so you can start your day with a fresh, open mind. Plus, it's an incredible way to uncover patterns you might not even realize are there. Negative thought loops, self-destructive behaviors, or maybe even hidden passions or new ideas. Start your day with something grounding and reflective. Trust me, it makes a huge difference. Now, the second practice is the artist date. This is where you schedule time, maybe once a week, for a creative adventure with yourself. Think of it as a date, a solo adventure, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be extravagant or expensive. You could visit a museum, you could check out that vinyl store you've been eyeing, explore a local park, or sign up for a one-day class. The goal is to do something that sparks your curiosity and inspires you creatively. It also gives you something to look forward to. So there you have it, the 5 levels you need to make this year about discovering yourself. Not about hustling to prove your worth or trying to fit into someone else's idea of productivity, but about discovering what lights you up, what inspires you, what makes your life meaningful. And remember, this is your journey. It's not about how much you can accomplish or how impressive your goals look to others. It's about creating a life that feels fulfilling to you. Every step you take is a step toward understanding yourself better. And here's the most important part. Don't rush. Take your time. Let this be a year where you slow down, listen to yourself, and embrace the process. Because the beauty of being a multi-passionate person is that your path is never a straight line. And that's what makes it so exciting. If this video resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. What's one thing you're excited to explore or discover about yourself this year? And if you're looking for more ideas and tips on being a multi-passionate person, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to a year of self-discovery, creativity, and living life for you. See you in the next one. Bye.